to see everybody. Oh, even Cadet Selfridge. Yeah. All right, so I think you guys are going to do the usual word your knowledge up front, but I'll turn it over to Cadet Wilson. And then we have a distinguished visitor, guest speaker today. All right, so I know everyone will be attentive and respectful when we get there. So it's going to be a great day. And then at the very end, some exciting announcements or announcement at the very end as well. So look forward to that. But with that, I'll turn it over to Cadet Wilson.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, yep, we have to do warrior knowledge first. Everyone loves warrior knowledge. So, Kathleen, briefing.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Doppy, Cadre, distinguished guests, POC, and fellow GMC. My name is Cadet Liam Quinn, and today I'll be briefing you about the history of the Air Force song and some of our past warrior knowledge. So the history of the Air Force song is, in the mid-1930s, the Army Air Corps held a competition to see who can make the best song for the Army Air Corps. And out of the 757 scores submitted, a group of Army Air Corps wives selected Robert Crawford's song to be the Army Air Force song, today's Air Force song. And now some of the past warrior knowledge is the Secretary of Defense is Honorable James Mattis. The Air Force ROTC mission is to develop quality leaders for the Air Force, and the Cadet Honor Code is we will not lie, steal, or cheat, or tolerate among us anyone who does. So today I'll brief you guys about the Air Force song, the history of the Air Force song, and our past warrior knowledge. This concludes my briefing. Are there any questions?
All right, flight commanders, take control of your flights and administer warrior knowledge.
Ultra flight, 10 chut.
You got 10 minutes.
Okay, Cities, watch out flight. So today we have this distinct pleasure to have Chief Master Sergeant Mark Hurst come and visit and talk to us a little bit. Chief Hurst is he's the command chief at the 552nd 18th Air Force Base. He has a very unique background, and so I'm going to let him share that with you, but a little bit more about him and his background. He enlisted in the Air Force in 1994. He's a TAC-P, that's Tactical Air Patrol Party member. He spent most of his career in direct support of the Army maneuvers, so he can talk about that. A little bit more in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. He's earned an Army Ranger tab, military freefall, static line, master parachutist, and Army Air Assault air badge. So everyone, please welcome Chief Hurst.
The Major said, I hope I didn't butcher that up. I'll tell you, ma'am, I went to an event earlier today, and I was introduced as Chief Master Sergeant Michael Hurst. So at least you didn't mess up my name, so that was good. My commander happened to be there, and he said, okay, your new call sign is Michael. So I have a new call sign. Hey, absolutely an honor to share a little bit of time with you guys today. I just want to manage everybody's expectations a little bit, because I've been told we're going to be in here for about 2 hours. Is everybody tracking that? I mean, I just want to hope that you don't think it's 30 minutes, and I start talking, and 2 hours later, you're really, really mad at me. I don't want that to happen, right? Sir, thank you so much for the opportunity. Colonel Sloniker, awesome to see you again. I hope you guys recognize what you have sitting right here in this room. Probably not just today, but multiple times over and over again. Don't lose sight of the fact that Colonel Sloniker is a hero, and he does amazing things for us every single day. And he's extremely passionate. I've seen him. He's extremely passionate about America and ensuring that America stays the way America is every day. And that's why he invests so much in you and the other colleges around the area. And he gives as much as he possibly can. He works extremely hard. And so thanks for coming to hang out. And thanks for all you do for our nation's greatest. I had an opportunity to spend time with some cadets back in November timeframe, and was November, right? December timeframe, and just 2 days of interaction and sharing time with your teammates from around the nation, doing some similar things that you guys are doing. I told them at the very end that I had no doubt that our nation is in great hands, and there's a lot of craziness going on in the world, but we have many years of kicking ass behind our back, right? And I have no doubt we'll continue to do that. So this is what I'd like to do. I would like to share, around 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to share kind of some things that have helped me along the way, helped me be successful. I'll call it leadership philosophy, if you will. So we'll do that for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then I'll open it up for any questions. And about that time, I'll have to pee, so we'll take a break. All right? We'll take about a 10-minute break. I know we're going to take a few pictures, and then we'll come back in after that break, and I'll tell you some war stories. So we'll do that for about 30 minutes, and open it up for questions again. Any questions you guys have. All right? Sound fair? All right. So let's talk leadership philosophy a little bit. I have generally, if I had a slideshow, it would look like this. I have 4 quads on a single page of a slideshow, and I talk about priorities. I talk about how we spend our time. I talk about expectations, and I talk about failure. So I'm going to talk those 4 things really quick. And so the first one, priorities, and these are kind of personal to me. Something that I developed over time, and I will tell you, I didn't always have it right. I didn't always have it right, and I didn't make these up. I bet Colonel Sloniker heard this back in his days in the military when somebody said, "Hey, it's about family, team, and mission." Right? Probably heard that before. And so I heard that when I was a young airman. People say, "Hey, it's all about family, team, and mission. You got to balance family, team, and mission." And I would always say, "What does that mean? Paint that picture for me. What is family?" Especially when I was a young airman, I didn't necessarily have a family. I mean, I had a family, but they weren't there with me. So I was like, okay, how does that all fit in? And so this is how over time it developed. About 6 months ago, I was out talking with some of our units, and one of the airmen stood up and said, "Hey, Chief, what was your biggest failure in your career?" And so I was like, "Wow, that's a pretty good question," and I hadn't really thought about that. I try not to think about failures too much, even though we all fail at some point. But so I'm scratching my head, and I came to this conclusion that I told him. I said the first 10 years of my career was my biggest failure. And I had oohs and ahs around the crowd, right? And I've been in 23 years now. Actually, next month will be 23 years. So the first 10 years of my career, I called my biggest failure. And it was because I had family, team, and mission mixed up. And this is how I kind of look at family. Family is that foundation, right? It's like building a house. Before you can put up the walls, before you can put on the roof, you have to have a strong foundation. For any of you that have either worked in construction or seen a house built, or built a house before, the foundation takes the longest to build. We built a house in North Carolina one time, and I would go by there every day. I'd drive by and I'd call the construction guy up. I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing? When's my house going to be there?" He's like, "Hey, you got to get the foundation right." So if you get the foundation right, everything else goes up with it, right? And so family is that foundation. For me, family is my amazing wife of 18 years, who was also in the military for a little while. We met in the military. My four kids. I have a 20-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son, and a 5-year-old daughter as well. So all spread out, right? That's what my family is now. It wasn't always like that. Family means different things to different people, and throughout your life, family changes. We have our given family, those mom, dad, brothers, sisters, all those we have no choice, right? We can't choose them. They were given to us, and whether we like them or not, because sometimes we don't, right? Whether we like them or not, they're ours forever. We got to keep them. But then we have chosen family, right? And doing this business, doing this military business, your family expands rapidly. You know? The people that you share experiences with, the people that you go through challenges with, the people you sometimes fight side by side with. They become your family. Because sometimes you do things with people that make you bond together closer than your given family. I will tell you, when you're in a bad place at a bad time, in a bad way, and the person to your left and right are slugging through it with you, you create a bond that will last forever, right? And they become your family. You guys get tied up to some of the things you're doing day to day here. You know, college is not easy. ROTC is not easy, right? It takes sacrifice and commitment, and you're not doing it alone. You're doing it together, each and every day, right? And so you build bonds here that will last a lifetime. 25 years from now, you know, you might disconnect after you graduate and you go off into the force, into the military, and you're doing your thing and you're getting after it. And then 20 years from now, you meet up somewhere, and it's like you just left here. You know, like you didn't even miss a beat. It's just reconnected. That bond just restarts. Right? So, family is different, but that foundation is extremely important. Right? That foundation has to be strong before you can go do what the nation is going to ask you to do as a good teammate. You know? So, I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but I'll tell you, if there's something going on with my kids, or if I had an argument with my wife or something, I don't go to work 100%. My foundation is cracked. And I won't come to work 100% until I fix that crack in the foundation. You know, somehow, some way. You know, you have to spend time constantly and deliberately on that foundation, whatever it might be for you, right? It takes deliberate commitment to that foundation. But once you have a strong foundation, you go to work and you become a good teammate, and you continue those relationships, right? And you build walls. We serve on different teams throughout in the military, throughout the community. And those walls lean on each other, they strengthen each other, they build each other, right? We have commitments to take care of ourselves so we can be a good teammate. But then we also have commitments to each other, right? We have a responsibility to sharpen each other, share information, right? Help each other succeed every single day. But I'll tell you, if you get those two pieces right, if you get the foundation right, and you get the walls right, you get the team piece right, you don't have to worry about the mission. You don't have to worry about the roof. You know, think about building a house. They don't even build the trusses for a house on site. They build them in a factory somewhere because they know if you get the foundation right and the walls right, the roof will just go on. The fastest part about building a house is the roof, right? So if you get the first two pieces right, the mission just happens. They parallel each other, you know? So this is where I failed, and this is where a lot of people fail. They try to build their house from the roof down. Impossible, right? It's almost impossible in our parallel lives as well. But we see people try to do it all the time, you know? And so I spent about 10 years of my career, my number one thing was mission first, at all costs, no matter what. If it took 22 hours a day, I would spend 22 hours a day doing it. So my mission was first, and then next came my teammates. Whatever was left of that time, I would give to them, and then the very, very leftovers. The tired, hungry, grumpy dude that rolled in the house with his dirty clothes and threw them on the ground was the guy that showed up at home. Right? And this might be a conversation you're like, well, this doesn't really apply to me right now. But the reason why I'm sharing with you is because I don't want you to spend 10 years of your life doing what I did. And putting your families, the families that you will have one day, in that same scenario. And that's why I share it. So I don't want any of you to try to build your house from the roof down. You will be so much more successful if you can figure out how to build a foundation up in everything that you do. And I will tell you, once I figured it out, everything in my life became a lot easier. Relationships got better. Ability to accomplish the mission was easier. Everything in my life was easier. And so that's why I share it. You know, as cadets and as you go into the Air Force, something unique about being an officer is that you not only have to learn what it is the Air Force is asking you to do, but you also have, day one, you're a leader, right? Day one, you're a leader. That's the expectation. You know? As an enlisted airman, I came in the Air Force, nobody expected me to lead, they just expected me to learn my job. Well, you got both. Once you go into our Air Force, right? You have to learn your job and then you have to be a leader, because everybody's looking up here and they say that's a leader, right? And so transition from priorities to how we spend our time. And this has been successful for me. It has proven to be true time and time again. So I want you guys to imagine, everybody knows what a standard bell curve is, right? And so in every organization, there's a standard bell curve. There's about 10% of the people that are what I like to call rock stars, right? They're rock stars. If you need something done, you go to them and they will make it happen, right? And you have another 10% of the organization that is, for lack of a better term right now, just not living up to their potential. They're the rocks. They're the rocks. They're the people that are doing the least for the organization, right? And having shenanigans and causing disruptions and bringing the organization as a whole down. Right? And you have 80% of the people that are somewhere between rising and falling, or just getting after it, you know, doing what we're asking them to do. And a lot of times, as a leader, what happens is, and you've probably heard this before, this saying that 90% of your time as a leader will be spent on 10% of the problem, right? I'll tell you, even when I was young, I would always raise my hand and say, why would I do that? Because as a leader, I have a choice, right? I can kind of choose where I want to spend my time. I mean, I have to share my time with everybody, but I have a choice. I can choose where I'm going to spend my time. And so, I would tell people, I said, why wouldn't I spend the majority of my time with the people that are doing the most for the organization? Why wouldn't I do that? And so I went out and I tested it at various levels. You know, when I was a young NCO, I would test this, and as a senior NCO, I tested it, and now as a chief and a command chief, I test it every day. Because if you are a leader that is respected, people want your time. People want your time. They want to know that you recognize them, that you appreciate them, that you're paying attention to what they're doing, right? And that's everybody. That's all 100%. That's the rock stars, that's the rocks, and the 80% in the middle too. Everybody wants your time if you are a respected leader, right? And so where you hang out is very important. See where I'm going with this? So if I'm hanging out 90% of my time with rocks, where am I driving people? Potentially. I'm going to drive some people down there, right? That's one aspect of it. So I said, well, what happens if I hang out with the 10% that are doing rockstar business? What happens then? You know? And then I watched as people who wanted my time would rise up to where I was at. You know? They would do the things necessary to get that attention. Now, like I said, I don't ignore that 10%. I'm just not going to spend 90% of my time there, because that's not value. I can get more value out of hanging out over here. That's one aspect of it. Now, I'm going to take this into a little bit of an expectations, because we all have expectations of people, right? And so you take those three categories of people, and as humans, we categorize people. You know that, right? We naturally, humanly, we have people that we work with, people that work for us, people that we work for. We have them in A, B, and C categories, right? Rockstar A, average in the middle, B's, and C's are rocks, right? And so Lieutenant Colonel Saunders comes to me and says, Chief, you got it. This is my top priority. I need you to get somebody to go do this for me. Where do I go? Anybody? Rock stars, right? All my A players. Bringing in my A players. Like, hey, the boss has this task. We need to get it done. It needs to be timely, accurate. I don't bring in B's. I don't bring in C's, right? Just bring in A players. And every time I have a rock star style type task to do, where do I go? I always go to the rock stars, right? So that's one thing that happens. And then if I have B work, where do I go? Go to my category, my B players. And then if I have C work, I go to my C players, right? And so I don't even have to tell people what I expect. I already by the way that I task them, the way that I ask them to do stuff, I have told them where they fit in the organization, right? And I will tell you, nobody will ever rise above your expectations of them. So if you think they're rocks, they will prove you right. If you think they're rock stars, they will prove you right. If you think they're just average, they will prove you right. And so, when you talk about having consistent expectations, every once in a while, you have to make sure that you're going to that currently C player, right? Give them an A task. Realize that you're going to have to give them a little help, right? And in the process, you're going to build confidence and confidence. And that's what we do as leaders. Build confidence and confidence in people, so that they can become better and better each and every day. And as you do that, you'll make a stronger organization, a stronger team to accomplish the extraordinary mission that we have to do every day, right? And you will spend less time down with the 10%. You will spend less of that 90% of the time down with that part of the organization. Right? Expectations. We talked about priorities. We talked about how we spend our time. I'll talk about expectations. All right. Me personally, Mark, I have 5 expectations of all human beings. And it doesn't matter if you're an officer, if you have stripes, or in our Air Force we have civilians that work in our Air Force as well. I tell every single one of them the same thing. These are my 5 expectations. First one, expectation number 1: do your job better than anybody else, or to your max potential. Do your job better than anybody else and to your max potential. Bottom line, if you just did this one expectation, you will be extremely successful in whatever you do in life. Do your job better than anybody else or to your max potential. Right? That's easy to say, hard to do. Because in order to do your job better than anybody else, you have to commit a tremendous amount of time and effort. Right? That doesn't happen overnight. Who is it? I forget the author, but he says it takes 10,000 hours to go pro at something, right? So think about how many seniors are in here. How many seniors? Seniors, you're about to go into hour 1 of that 10,000 hours, right? And just so you know, that's about 4 to 5 years before you go pro. That's how much effort you got to put in. That's how much time you have to put in, right? Each one of you is extremely talented. Right? You take that talent, you multiply it by effort, and then you gain some skills, right? Take those skills, multiply that by effort, and you have achievement. Right? And oh, by the way, as officers, that first 4 to 5 years, you're going to be learning your business, getting good at your skills, and then we're going to start adding more leadership responsibility onto you. And then you're going to have to spend 4 to 5 years going pro at being a leader, right? And then next thing you know, you're going to be a squadron commander, and so on and so forth, right? And then you just take it to the next level, and you got another. This is a lifetime commitment. This thing called growth, right? Every 4 to 5 years, we're kind of changing it up, and we have a new event to go pro at, right? That's expectation number 1. Expectation number 2, be prepared to make a decision or influence a decision. Be prepared to make a decision or influence a decision. I'll tell you, as officers, and leaders in an organization. Nothing will slow an organization down more than a leader who cannot make a decision. You know? And the thing that sucks about decision is you never have all of the information. You never do. If you're lucky, you'll have 80%. Right? If you're lucky, you'll have 80%. But don't slow the organization down by waiting for 100% of the information to make a decision. Because that might be days, weeks, months. And we don't have that much time. Initially, as you start to go pro at your business, whatever that might be, people are going to recognize it. You know, commanders and leaders above you will recognize, hey, so-and-so got some knowledge. And then they're going to say something like this, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And that's why I say we also got to be prepared to influence decisions. Right? We got to be careful with it because we got to guard it as well. You know, I'll tell you, my boss, Colonel Gatica, he does not make a decision in our wing without asking me, Chief, what do you think? You know, most of us enlisted strike wearers, we influence the decisions. We don't make a lot of decisions. But I'll tell you, if I shoot from the hip one time, right, when he asks me, what do you think? And I get it wrong, what do you think the chances are he's going to come back? Probably pretty low, right? He might give me one more shot. If I get it wrong again, I probably lost my opportunity. And so we have to guard that opportunity to influence decisions, you know. And we're always going to have a boss, and so we'll always have an opportunity to influence decisions. But when we get in those leadership positions where we're the decision maker, we absolutely have to make decisions in a timely and effective manner. Right? Expectation number 3: build relationships. Success is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. Two ways you build relationships. 2 expectations within relationships that I have. First off, it's the one-on-one relationships, right? It's the relationships that we have in here, the friendships we have, the knowledge of one another, right? Some of you know each other so well that when somebody is having problems, you can say, hey, what's going on? Right? You're like brothers and sisters. You know each other so well. And that's the goal, right? You want to know somebody so well that you know what right looks like. So when they walk in the morning, you can do that quick assessment. Say good morning, what's going on? Make that quick assessment like, okay, everything's good. You first, rock and roll today. Everything in life is good. But that one day that I walk in and my foundation is cracked, right? My world is crumbling down around me. I guarantee when I walk in the door, if we have a strong enough relationship, you will know. You will know. Even though I'm trying to compartmentalize it and hide it, right? Because we do that too as humans. I got this. Just compartmentalize it, put it over here, just hide it, and then act like nothing's wrong, right? But if we have a strong enough relationship, you will see through all of that, and you will pull me into your office, or you pull me off to the side, and you say, what's going on? How can I help? Build strong enough relationships that you know what right looks like. So when wrong happens, you can recognize it. And then you can be that person that helps you. Right? The other relationship that I want you to build is, each one of us is asked to do something in our Air Force. There's a functional area where we're going to say, this is where your expertise is going to be for now, and each one of us goes after it, and we try to become the very best we can be at that job, whatever the Air Force asks us to do today, right? But there's a lot of jobs in the Air Force. So the relationship that I want you to build is I want you to build an understanding of what it is that you do, and what it is that the people to your left and right do, and how it's integrated, how it fits together, how you help each other, how you potentially sometimes hinder each other by the things that we do. I'll tell you this, if you consistently do that throughout your careers, from the very beginning, your perspective of the Air Force will continually grow. it will continually grow. And in the process, you will increase your potential. The broader your perspective, the higher your potential. I've seen this work time and time again. And that's why you see some of our leaders in the highest positions of our military are all people that you look at their careers and you're like, man, they were all over the place. They were doing all kinds of stuff, right? And it's because their perspective is broad. And so they can contribute in different ways. Don't get so blinded by, well, this is my job, this is what I'm going to do, I don't care about anybody else. You got to know what you do, but you also have to understand how the whole thing connects together. Right? At the end of the day, we all have one mission, no matter what we do for the Air Force, or what we do in the military. The one mission is to defend this nation. All right? We all do it in different ways, and not one way is more important than another way. So broaden that perspective, increase your potential. All right? Expectation number 4. You live with the standards you keep or accept. You live with the standards you keep or accept. Particularly as an officer and a leader, if you walk by a problem within the organization and people see you walk by that problem, what did you just tell them? That's no longer a problem in this organization, it's just the way we do business. Right? Just the way we do business. Every single one of us is responsible for maintaining standards. Doesn't matter how many stripes you have or what you have up here. I tell airmen with no stripes, airmen basic. Occasionally we get those in our organization, right? It's pretty neat to see. And I look at them straight in the face and I say, you are responsible for maintaining the standards of our United States Air Force. Because they are. It's not the chief's responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility. Because I can't see everything, right? But collectively, we can all see everything. And we know what right and wrong looks like. And when we see wrong, we have to do something about it. Or, if we don't, we gotta live with it, because we allowed it. Right? We gotta live with it because we allowed it. I say we don't allow it. Now, there's a right and a wrong way to maintain standards in our United States Air Force, and you'll see both of them, I guarantee it. You'll see the poor airman that's walking, and his arms are full, he's probably got a baby in one hand, and the groceries in the other hand, and he forgot to put his hat on, right? And some chief is going to come from across the parking lot, and he's going to just yell and be like, hey, knucklehead, you forgot your hat. And he's like, put the baby on the ground, grocery, grabs his hat, puts it on, That's the wrong way, right? The right way, I'll give you a couple examples of what right looks like. So in that same scenario, it's walk around, get up close, maybe take the groceries from the guy, and let him have the baby and say, hey, you forgot to put your hat on. And 9.9 out of 10 times, it's not that he was doing it on purpose, it was just life is happening moment by moment, right? And sometimes you forget those things. And that's just an extremely small example, right? And he could have helped him, and then he puts his hat on, and he puts his groceries in the car and helps him with it, did all that stuff, right? Now, either way, that young man's going to remember it for the rest of his life, right? Whether it's the bad or the good. Which one do we want to leave with? I would say the good. I'll give you an example. I was in Bagram, Afghanistan, and just walking from the dining facility to, I think I was walking to the terminal. I was getting ready to leave, go somewhere else in Afghanistan. And, we all know what right and wrong looks like. So when something is wrong, it's like a little alarm going off in your head, right? And I see this young A1C E3 walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, something's wrong. And I'm like, ooh, there it is, boom, I see it. And so I walk up to him, and I grab his hand, and and I'm shaking his hand, and I hold on to it because the young A1C is trying to get as far away from the chief as he possibly can. He wants to run so bad right now, but I'm like gripping his hand. And so we're sitting there in the middle of the bargain, we're holding hands. He so desperately wants to let go, but I won't let him, you know. And I go, hey, where are you from? And, you know, he tells me, he's like, where do you work? What do you do? And we have, you know, about a 2-minute conversation, holding hands still, right? and he's starting to sweat. And I go, hey, I'm going to touch your uniform. I'm just going to help you out, okay? And so he was wearing not this uniform, but the OCP's, the deployed uniform rank. And his rank was upside down. And so I just took his rank off and I made it right side up. And I said, hey, have a great day. Nice talking with you. And I walked on, right? Now that could have gone a totally different way. Right? I could have gone into full-on chief mode and just crush, right? Tearing him up, right? Either way, he'd have remembered it. But I like to think that the way I did it, he'll remember for the rest of his life in a positive way. And hopefully, he'll model that later on in life when he has the opportunity to correct his life. So we live with the standards we accept or keep. Finally, expectation number 5. This one is sometimes easy, sometimes hard. It is okay to have fun doing what we do. If you are not having fun, you might be doing it wrong. I will tell you, I came in the Air Force, my plan was to do 4 years. I was going to gain a skill, get money for college. You know, I tried the college thing for about 3 years, and I ran out of money, had a lot of debt. Because I was trying to pay for college. We actually had this conversation, me and Sergeant Bullheis, on the way up. You know, I thought, my mindset when I was young, I was like, when you turn 18, it's time for you to leave your home as a man. Leave your home and you go figure it out on your own. So my way was first college, and then I found myself, I was 20 years old, and I had to come back home because I was out of money, and I was like, something's wrong with this. I'm not supposed to be here. And so, eventually joined the military to gain a skill, get money for college. And obviously I failed tremendously at getting out in 4 years, right? But I found a family, I found a home. I found something, I found my purpose, right? I found something that was bigger than me that I could be a part of. And I will tell you that it's been an extraordinary journey. Not every day was amazing, but more and more amazing than we're terrible, right? There's ups and downs. This business is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. There's a tremendous amount of sacrifice and in it, not only for us, but as we grow with our families, there is sacrifice. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And that's why there's only a select few that commit themselves to do what we do every single day. You know? And so sometimes we think and we try to just make it easy. It's not supposed to be, but we're supposed to have fun doing it. I will tell you some of the strongest people in the world, some of the strongest people that I know, some of the most amazing people I know have also been the people that have overcome the most challenges in their life. You know? And so there's growth on the other side of challenge. There's growth on the other side of tragedy. There's growth on the other side of the storm. Right? And so don't recoil from the storm or the tragedy or the challenge. You drive through it. Right? And the whole time you're doing it, have fun doing it. You know? And you think about those 5 expectations. Do your job better than anybody else. Be prepared to make a decision or influence decisions. Build relationships, maintain high standards, and have fun. Think about the most phenomenal person you know in your life. And I can guarantee you they do all 5 of those things well. All 5 of them. Right? All right, so those are expectations. We talked briefly about failure. All right? Briefly about failure. There's 4 reasons why people fail professionally, in my opinion, in my experiences. communication, resources, personal problems, or they just don't care. Those 4 reasons, all right? So now that I know that, there's 2 lenses from which we need to look at failure. And I will tell you, I don't talk about failure because I want to prevent failure, because I'll also tell you some of the most talented leaders we have are people that have failed continuously. And you will never get through life without failing in one way or another, right? So it's not necessarily about preventing failure. It's about preventing catastrophe, maybe. It's about maximizing the potential of failure. And so there's 2 lenses in which we need to look at failure. And this one is extremely important for a leader. The first lens that we look at failure from is through the eyes of you, the leader. Right? And so when somebody fails, oftentimes we'll say something like this: "What did you do?" And the first person you need to look at is in the mirror and say, "What did you do?" As a leader. As a leader, did I communicate what the expectation was? Did I communicate what I needed? Was I effective in communicating what I needed? Did I micromanage them? Maybe I gave them too much information. And I told them exactly how to do it, and then when they didn't do it, or when they did it, I didn't like the end result, but I'm the one who gave them exactly how to do it, right? That's my failure. I own that. Did I provide them the resources? When I talk about resources, I'm not talking about money or people or any of that stuff. I'm talking about the true resources of success, which are training, information, skill, knowledge, things that I possess from years and years of experience. Did I share that with them? Or did I just keep all that power to myself? I just hold it and I got the power, so if I give it up, then somebody else has the power. Did I do that? Did I have a strong enough relationship with them to know that their world was crumbling down, that their foundation was cracked? Did I know what right looked like in the morning? Did I miss that? So that they didn't get tired, I don't care, right? And if I have a follower, why should they care if I can't communicate with them? I can't provide them the resources they need to be successful. And I don't even have a relationship with them to know that, their world is falling apart, and I don't even recognize it. Why should they care? Because we both play both roles at times, right? Sometimes we're a leader, sometimes we're a follower. And as a follower, if I don't understand what my boss means, I have to raise my hand and say, I don't understand, help me understand. Keep talking to me. I'll get it eventually, but you got to tell me, because I don't understand what you expect right now. If I don't have the resources to be successful, I need to raise my hand and say, I need help, I need this information, I need this knowledge, I need this training, right? My world is crumbling down around me. We are the greatest resource organization on earth, but our resources are some of the most underutilized as well. Right? But I have to raise my hand and say, I need help. I have this going on in my life, right? So that I don't care. So it's a relationship, and we all have responsibility. And it has to be looked at from both lenses. We can't just put it on the follower, particularly as a leader. We have to look at ourselves first and say, did we do everything we could to help those individuals be successful? And if you do that, you'll build what I call the 3 greatest human currencies. We build trust in one another. You'll build courage to overcome any obstacle or any challenge or any tragedy. And you'll build hope that our tomorrows will be better than our todays. And our todays are not that bad, so we continue to have hope for a better tomorrow. You'll go from the organization that has a leader-follower type structure in a hierarchy, right, to a leader-leader relationship with an understanding who's the formal leader and who's the follower, but you will look at that person as a leader as well. I don't know about you, at the end of all this, I don't want anybody to say that, hey, Mark Hurst has a bunch of followers. You know, I'm not Twitter. You know, I'd rather than say Mark Hurst surrounded himself with a ton of extremely capable leaders. Right? And so just my perspective on leadership. So talked about priorities. We talked about how we spend our time, 5 expectations, and a little bit on failure. All 4 areas that I talk about on a regular basis with the Air Force individuals that I have an opportunity to influence on a daily basis. And all things, all perspectives, I'll tell you, that have helped me be successful to this point. All right, so I'll stop there, and I think we could take, how long did that take me? You know, by the time we started? 40 minutes? Wow. Questions, comments, concerns, things you want to talk about? Oh, there you go.
Cadet Harwick, Foxtrot Flight. What were some of the steps you specifically took to correct some of your time management problems you had in your first 10 years of your career?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So at first, it was just trying to switch my mind and put family where it needed to be, which was first, right? And I will tell you, just because I know this works and just because I've experienced it, doesn't mean that I get it right every day, right? That balance is a daily deliberate challenge. You got to do it. Some of the things that I do, so I have this little notebook that I have. I used to have a bigger one. For years, I used to write in the bigger one. I would write every morning before I went to work because I would go to work before everybody got out of bed. I would write them a note every morning to my wife. I'd say something to her. Each one of my kids, I would say something to them. That has kind of transitioned to a small one now that is for my 5-year-old, but everybody in the house reads it. So it's to her, and I'm talking like I would be talking to you guys, right? It's life lessons that I want to pass on not only to her, but to everybody in my family. And in the morning when they get up, they all get around and they read it. So although it's to her, it's going to be a book that she keeps. Everybody gets the lesson, right? That's one thing I do. I try to leave work by 5 every day with the help of my trusty assistant. But that doesn't always work either. But I try to get home at 5. I heard something this past week that I'm going to institute, and I think it's a really good goal, but it won't always work either. The numbers 2, 10, 5, and 7. 2, 10, 5, and 7. So on a day-to-day basis, that's 24 hours, by the way. That's 24. Day-to-day basis, 2 hours, personal time. Right? I do that pretty much every morning. I'm up early, and I'm reading, writing, I'm thinking. Take the dog on a walk, and then I get after it and I go to work. And we usually spend about 10 hours a day, maybe a little bit more at work. And then I go spend 5 hours with my family. Right? So this is the key to those 5 hours, though, because sometimes those 5 hours are I have more work to do, so I take my computer off my stand, I put it in my bag, I go home, change, I sit down on the couch, pull out my computer, family's right there, we're hanging out. Yeah, this is family time, right? No. This is work time for me, and they're looking at me like, really? Dude, you just spent 10 hours at work. You can't, and they're looking at me like, you can't manage your time, man? Really? Yeah, you got 10 hours. And so the key to it is you got to disconnect for those 5 hours. You got to really, because that's priority one. If we get our priorities right? That's priority one. Spending that time with your family, making sure that foundation remains strong. And then the 7 is 7 hours of sleep. 7 hours of sleep. And you guys are laughing at me like, 7 hours of sleep? Damn! Last time I got 7 hours of sleep was like 4 years ago. But don't ever underestimate the power of sleep. I give you guys a book to read. It's called Eat, Move, Sleep. Eat, Move, Sleep. And it's about balancing all of those things to maximize your energy and your potential. It was written by, so the author at the age of 14 got a tumor in his head, above his left eye. And the doctors go in and they take it out, you know, and they patch them all back up, and then about a year later, the tumor starts growing again, coming back. And the doc says, hey, listen, we cannot go back in and take this out again. It's going to cause too much damage. And so it started down the discussion of, hey, listen, you're probably going to live into your mid-20s, and this is something that you're just going to have to deal with, and you're going to have a short life, you know. And so this is his lifelong experimentation with how much he eats and what he eats, how much exercise and movement he does day to day, and how much sleep he gets, right? And he used those three things to manage this tumor in his head for the past 40 years. So he's in his 50s now. So life expectancy of 25, right? And he's doubled that just by the way he eats, moves, and sleeps. And so to me, I use it as a way, because I don't have a tumor that I'm managing, thank goodness. He uses that as a way to maximize his energy and his potential each and every day. And so that's what I do too. It works really well. All right. There's all kinds of ways to keep those priorities right though, you know. And I'll tell you, so sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes they've come to me and said, hey, we need you to go on a 9-month deployment, 7-month deployment. It's really hard to balance then, right? And so there's times where we're going to have to sacrifice, but then we have to immediately, upon return from that, rebalance. Make sure we give back to those that, I will tell you, being deployed is easy compared to what my wife does at home every day when I'm gone. It's easy work. I mean, I don't have to worry about getting shot at, right? That's it. I don't have to worry about what's for dinner. They do my laundry. Just got to go to work. So it's easy. Any question? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Concerning concept flight, what was it that caused you to see that you had spent the first 10 years effectively doing that?
Very good question. We'll talk about that in the next 45 minutes. I promise I'll answer that question. What else? Yes, sir.
Sir, what aspect of leadership have you struggled with the most? And how are you working to get better at it?
Aspect of leadership I struggled with the most.
Yeah, just, I don't know, communication, anything.
Okay, a form of communication called listening. Yeah. So, obviously, I just spent 40 minutes talking, right? I'm really good at talking. And I'll tell you, as a leader, this is something that I've been working on a lot for the last 6 months. And I didn't really recognize it. I always thought I was a good listener. And they sent me to a course back in the fall of last year, and so it's a deep dive into me, right? So I have these 5 different assessments that I'm doing. I get 360-degree feedback from my peers, from subordinates, from bosses, all that stuff. And it turns out that I don't listen very well, according to all of them. And so as I get this whole week where I'm deep diving into myself, and it's some of it's really good, some of it really sucks. Because you're like, no, I don't want to be like that. But there's just some stuff about us that we cannot change. We're the way we are. But listening is one of those things that you can't change. And I realized, so I would have an idea, right? And I'd walk into a group where I needed them to support me on this, and because nobody does anything alone. You have to have supporters. You have to have people that go along with you. And so I'd walk in the room and I'd tell them this great idea, and I'd say, what are your questions? What are your comments? What are your thoughts? And they would start in, and as soon as somebody said something different than how I had it played out in my head, I would immediately go into, instead of listening to what they said, taking it all in, and saying thanks for your input, I would immediately start trying to convince you that my way was right. And so people were like, this dude doesn't listen. What is wrong with him? And we have to be careful of that, you know. Feedback. And I'll tell you, you know, as you go in to change things, sometimes you get a lot of resistance. I don't call it resistance, I call it feedback. That's feedback, I just have to listen to it. And normally when somebody resists, they're doing it for the right reasons, you know. And if you pay attention to what they're saying to you, you can make adjustments that makes the end product better than maybe what you had initially in your mind. But yeah, listening is something that I'm working on a lot, because sometimes I don't do that well. And for each one of us, it'll be different, you know. It'll be different. Communication is one of the hardest. You know, there's a reason why failure. Communication is number one, right? Because I will tell you, more often than not, we fail because of communication. We don't even have to get down to resources or personal relationship stuff. It's because of communication. Other questions? All right, let's take 10 minutes, stretch our legs, and use the bathroom, and we'll come back with 15 after. Sound like a plan? All right, Schmidt, you got it. I probably should have started with this, and realized during the break that I just kind of jumped in, and I got a very good kind of introduction, but I probably should have expanded it just a little bit more before I jumped into everything. So obviously you guys know who I am. I'm a TAC by trade, Tactical Air Control Party member. You probably heard the term JTAC before. JTAC is a certification. And basically what a JTAC is a person that runs around on the battlefield and calls in airstrikes. So anything that drops bombs, I've talked to before and told them where to put bombs on target on the ground. And so that was my first job in the Air Force. I went to Fort Stewart, Georgia to start out. So I spent a lot of time with the Army. Started out there. I went from there to Camp Red Cloud, Korea, another Army post. Came back to Savannah area and worked with the 1st Ranger Battalion for 6 years. And that was in 1999. And so a couple years later, you know what happens in 2001, and we got extremely busy. So like me and Cadet Price were having a conversation in the hallway. She said, we're just taking it all in because it's about to get really real for us, right? As you make that transition into the Air Force. And so I hope I can just share a little bit of what I call our story, because it's not just my story, it's my family's story, and a bunch of people involved in it as well. Share our story to give you an idea of just how real it is, what we do. And so, the first thing I'll tell you is nobody is successful alone. And if there's a theme to this story, there's a theme to this discussion, it's the fact that nobody is successful alone. We get through life together with leaders and teammates, family members that help you along the way. And so don't ever think that when you're successful one day that you did it all by yourself, because none of us do. We do it with a lot of help. And so this story starts May 13th. Well, actually, we start a little bit before that. So from September of 2001, started for me December 26, 2001. First deployment into combat to the Kandahar, Afghanistan. I was there until April 2002. I'm back in September of 2002. Came home in January. In March was in Iraq. Of 2003 in Iraq. November of 2003 went back into Afghanistan, and in March of 2004 went back to Afghanistan. So you can see in less than 2 years, 5 times into Iraq and Afghanistan with my teammates, right? So we were pretty busy. And May 13th, 2004, 5th combat tour in Afghanistan. We're working along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Basically what we're doing is, and it's still pretty porous today. If you've ever seen overhead pictures of satellite or anything of that area, it's very mountainous. And it's kind of free flow across the border, in and out of Afghanistan. And we are trying to stop all of that movement across the border. So we put in what we call border checkpoints or border crossing points. So we were trying to get the enemy to stay in Pakistan, basically. And so we ran around there for about a month and a half. Had some fun times, you know. Got in some gunfights. Leadership decided, hey, we're going to pick you up. We're going to move you once you go back to this forward operating base. We were literally living in a house that was right on the border, and set up a patrol base. And we'd run patrols out of there every single day. And so they decided we're going to move. And so we packed everything up one day, and we started under the cover of darkness moving out. And so it's very porous, right? There's one way in, there's one way out. And about 500 meters into our movement, we got ambushed. RPGs, small arms, lead vehicle. There was 9 vehicles total. I was in the 5th vehicle. The ambush was initiated by an RPG that fortunately flew over the lead vehicle and exploded. Didn't hurt anybody. And I'm in the back of a Humvee, kind of moving this way. In the back of a Humvee, sitting facing this way, and the enemy's over here. So I had to turn, put my weapon on fire, and an RPG explodes over my head. Pushes me down into the Humvee. I jump down, pull off to the right. I start trying to fix my night vision goggles and pulling security off to the opposite side of where the enemy's at. You know? All of a sudden, the left side of my body just feels like it's on fire. You know? So I'm looking, I'm feeling, and wondering what the heck's going on. My buddy comes over and he's looking at me. He goes, hey, you just got some scratches on your face. You're gonna be good. It's all good. And I was like, okay, cool. And still, my left side of my body's on fire. Right? About 45 minutes later, I get on a helicopter with three of my buddies, 3 of my Ranger buddies, and they take us to a place called Salerno, a FOB that used to be in Afghanistan, and eventually to Bagram. Bagram is still there, and they start patching us up, fixing us up, you know. And basically, what I had was I had a golf ball size hole in my arm, or in my shoulder, a softball size hole in my back of my arm back here, gunshot wound to my left arm, shrapnel all over the left side of my face, about a 2-inch hole in my neck, and shrapnel all over the left side of my face. Looks pretty good now, but it was a little rough on May 13th. You know? And so started getting patched up at Bagram. Next day, I fly to Landstuhl, Germany, with 2 of the 3 that were with me, and then continue to get patched up. My wife, who was in the Air Force at the time, Melanie, she was a weather observer and forecaster in the Air Force. Her commander, which was a unit that I had previously been in, basically said, hey, we upped the limit on your government travel card, put her on orders and said, your job is to go bring your husband home. So sent her to Germany to get me. So we spent about 4 days in Germany, getting patched up, and then we went to Andrews Air Force Base, and then we went to Fort Gordon, and then eventually on to San Antonio, Texas, to finally get completely patched up. Spent about 2 weeks there, getting completely patched up. So fixed all the shrapnel wounds, you know, all that stuff. But one of the biggest things, so all that stuff kind of healed, and you know, I have no effects from it, right? My face obviously looks relatively decent. It doesn't look terrible from all the shrapnel wounds, but the one thing that did happen that is life-altering, life-impacting is the fact that shrapnel bounced up off my cheekbone, went through my eye, and severed my optical nerve, so I can do this little trick. I can take out my eye, right? Expecting that. Shit just got real It's just a little piece of plastic. I can't do it. So, I know, it's okay. I'm going to tell you another story. And yeah, I'll tell you another story in a minute. So on the bottom, I got RLTW on it. And so I worked with the Rangers, obviously the Ranger tab, I went to Ranger school, and the Rangers motto is Rangers lead the way. RLTW, Rangers lead the way. So I put that on the bottom for all my Ranger buddies, and then I got my initials on top, MH, right? So in case I'm in a room full of one-eyed folks. It's absolutely terrible to get your eye mixed up. All right. Back to normal. Right. So now that you all know that, though, I'm telling you, every once in a while, we might cross each other's paths one day, and you might look at me and you say, "What is wrong with Chief's eye?" He'll be over here, looking over there, and I have no idea. And you're gonna walk by and you're gonna want to just laugh and keep walking. Please don't laugh and keep walking. Tell me, say, So, funny story. I had an opportunity to tell this story to the Miami Heat. Back in the day when, Coach Polster brought the team together, right? LeBron James did the same thing you did. The king, man, did the same thing. He turned his head away, he's like, "Tell me when it's over. Tell me when it's over." I ain't looking at that mess. Don't feel bad. All right, so obviously get patched up. They make me this beautiful eye that makes me look, normal again. And they put me and Melanie back on a plane and we go home. Right? And at that point, the easy part's over. The easy part of this journey is now over. I'm patched up. And I'll tell you, about 3 months after all this happened, so about mid-July, I woke up one morning and I just felt like this is normal. I know. So over the next few days, I promise you're going to try to do this. Right? You're going to be driving down the road and you're going to go. You're going to close one eye, just to feel what it's like. Right? It's not the same. It's not the same. Because I don't have to squint half of my face to do it. Right? This is just normal. And I really, I lost this much vision. It's not really that much when you think about it, right? So I have to turn my head a little bit more when I drive, things like that. And so it's not nearly, you can't recreate it. I mean, you can try if you want, but it's just not, I'm telling you, it's not the same. Not the same. We get home and, my wife takes all the keys from the house, because obviously I don't know how to drive anymore, right? Because I lost my eye. And she takes all the keys from the house and she goes to work. She leaves me with nothing, I can't get around, just at home. Leaves me there. I'm like, this is terrible, right? And so I'm alone for the first time in over a month, almost 5 weeks, where she was with me 24 hours a day, every single day. I'm always with somebody, right? And here I am sitting at home, looking out the back door of my house, and all of a sudden, I'm like, why me? What did I do? And I get in this 4-hour cage match with God. I'm like, what did I do to deserve this, Why me? My life was just fine. I'm on the ground, I'm crying like a little kid. It was awful. I mean, I can't even recreate it. It was so bad. It was terrible. And at the end of that 4 hours, we kind of came to an agreement that we weren't going to do that anymore. That we weren't going to focus on what we didn't have. We were going to focus on what we do now. Not what we can't do, but what we still can do. And I'll tell you, that was a critical point for me. Because I've been in the Air Force 10 years and 3 days when I got injured. And I wasn't done yet. Now you know why the first 10 years of my life was all jacked up, and what caused me to rethink life in general, and how I needed to fix it. Right? That's the answer to that question. It's funny what happens when you're on the battlefield and you're going to die. How you fast reverse, put your life in reverse, and think about all the things that you jacked up, and then think about how you're going to fast forward and correct them all, right? So that's how that whole thing in the team mission kind of came together really, really quick. Was in that time frame. And so, you lose an eye in the Air Force, and you have to do this thing called a medical evaluation board. And so that's basically, they say, this is what happened, and they send it up to the medical community, and the medical community comes back and says, nope, no good, you gotta go, right? And there's a reason why. It's not that they're bad people. The medical community is basically, they're looking at Air Force instructions, right? And if you look in an AFI that says, can somebody with a one eye serve, the answer is no. And so their answer is no, right? That's their job. Not that they don't like me or whoever it is that they're doing medical evaluation on board on. They're just going by black and white. These are the rules. You have to have 2 eyes to serve in the Air Force, right? Luckily for us, there's another part of that process, right? They do a physical evaluation board. So all my records up to that point, with a recommendation from my commander, goes up to this other board, and where they say, okay, this is what the medical doctors say, but this is this individual's career, and do they still have potential to serve? Maybe not in what I was doing then, but maybe it's something else, right? And so the answer obviously comes back, and they say, yes, you can do that. And so I got an opportunity to continue to stay in the Air Force. And so shortly after that, I went back to the docks, and I said, hey, in order to continue jumping out of airplanes, in order to keep putting warheads on foreheads, I gotta have a waiver, right? And so this amazing group of doctors went to work on an exception to policy package up to the medical community. Right? So it goes all the way up to the Surgeon General of the Air Force, and immediately comes back and is like, nope, you're gonna have to change career fields. Okay, and then about this same time, I'm transitioning to, I got a new assignment, I'm transitioning to another field. And I have a new boss, and it's Chief Voigt is his name. And Chief Voigt, this is the second time me and Chief Voigt have been together. And the first time he was my very first supervisor as a young man. He's a Master Sergeant Voigt at the time. And so he calls me up, he's like, don't worry, I got a plan. And he starts working along him and another person I'd worked for before, Colonel Gentili, my commander at the time. They go to work on an exception to the policy package up the operational chain. So it goes up through 9th Air Force, Air Combat Command, eventually all the way to the to Headquarters Air Force, and signed off by the Vice Chief of Staff. This is where we run into the first problem, because the Vice Chief of Staff was General Corley at the time, and General Corley wanted Mark to go be a civilian. He didn't want me to stay in the Air Force at all. More or less in a combat career field, right? So he was not a fan. He really was. So this is the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. This is an uphill climb, right? But I had 2 people, a chief and a colonel, that were willing to stand on his desk if they had to and say, like Chief Voigt would always say, he lost his eye, not his brain. I think he can still serve. And so they worked that exception to policy package, went all the way up to General Corley, and it's sitting on his desk. And me and Melanie have an opportunity to go to DC for the AFA convention, and there we run into another chief friend of mine that said, hey, General Corley's over there, I want to introduce you. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know if that's a good idea, man. And he goes, no, come on. And so I walk up, he's like, General Corley, this is Mark Hurst, you know, the exception policy package is on your desk, and I just wanted to introduce you to him and let him say hi. And so he reaches out, he shakes my hand, and he says, he goes, you know, Mark, there's another way to serve. There's other ways to serve. And I shaking his hand and thinking, and I go, not for me, sir. And then I walked away. A week later, he signed my exception policy package. Came back down to my unit, and I had to jump through a bunch of hoops, right? I had to do 100% evaluation of every task in my career field. I had to prove that I could do everything. Drive a Humvee, you know, night vision goggles, everything. Load radios, load ComSec, in the dark, at night, all that stuff. I had to do 100%. It took 3 days. 3 days to do that. So that I could continue to jump out of airplanes, static line only. I couldn't do any military free fall anymore. But at that time, I was like, and I just went from, this guy wants me to be a civilian to like, saying there's a chance, right? Saying there's a chance. All I got to do is do this, right? And so we got after it. Started jumping out of airplanes again. Did the 3-day 100% eval. Proved that I could still do the job. One of the other things I couldn't do anymore was deploy. Right? General Gordon said, no more deploying for you. You can train, you can, you know, lead and a garrison unit, but no more deploying for you. I said, okay, well, I mean, I can only get back so much, right? I'm okay with that for now. And so we do that 3 days, and Chief Ford comes to me the very next day. Very next day. Done with that, 100% signed off, ready to go. Chief Ford says, hey, do you want to deploy? And I go, of course I want to deploy, but my waiver says I can't. He goes, yeah, don't worry about that. I said, I do want to deploy, but, you know, I probably should go home and talk to the young lady that got the phone call in the middle of the night when I was in Afghanistan this last time and make sure she's okay with it. You know? And so I went home that night and I said, we're at the dining room table. I'm sitting here, and I asked Melanie to sit down over here. And I said, hey, I need you to sit down. So I have to ask you a question. And she sits down, I sit down, and this is the whole conversation. I'm not kidding you. This woman is a hero. She's a tremendous courage. I said, I want to go back. She said, okay. That was it. That was the entire conversation. A month later, I was in Iraq. A year and a half later, I was back in Afghanistan. 2014, I was in Afghanistan. Obviously doing some different things, right? I was in leadership roles. I was a squadron superintendent the first 2 times and a group superintendent the last time. But I was still there. I was still in the fight, you know? Still having the opportunity to do what it is I love to do every single day. I stand before you today as a chief, not because of things I did, not because of things I did. I have an amazing life. It allows me to do this every single day. I have amazing teammates. Amazing teammates. I'll tell you, when I first got home for about 3 to 4 months, between 3 and 4 months, I'd wake up every night at 12 o'clock at night. It's the same dream every night. Osama bin Laden would be out in front of me. I'd have my weapon on fire, I'd pull the trigger, and nothing would happen. Nothing would happen. Makes sense, right? What happened when I got hit? Weapon on fire, never got to shoot. I'm like, I got this figured out. Amazing teammates, and they looked at me one day and they said, hey, what's going on? Why do you look like you've been beat up every single day? And it's because I was sleeping like 2 hours a night. That takes its toll on you over 3 to 4 months, right? And I said, would you guys think I was crazy if I needed to go talk to somebody? And they surrounded me, every single one of them. I said, no, we do not think you're crazy, we're going to take you. So they took me to the chaplain that afternoon. I talked to the chaplain for an hour and a half. And I told him, Chaplain, I know why this is happening. I know I'm having dreams. You know, you remember? Because he was there with me on the battlefield, believe it or not. In the Army, chaplains are on the battlefield with him, all the way down to the battalion level. You know, and he was there with me. He put me on the helicopter. It's like, I got to figure out, I know why this is happening, but I can't break it. And he goes, well, that's maybe part of it. And then he shared a couple other things with me, you know? Hour and a half conversation. It was almost 13 years ago. I've never woken up in the middle of the night with a dream, ever again. It was that easy. It's not that easy for everybody, but it was that easy for me. Because I had some amazing teammates who knew what right looked like, and they knew what wrong looked like. And they jumped in and they made a difference in my life. Right? I had amazing leaders who were willing to stand on people's best, to say yes when everybody else was saying no, to say yes when the number 2 leader in our Air Force was saying no, and they were saying yes. Didn't care what impact was on them. They were just doing what they thought was right. That's why I'm here. Those heroes enable me to be who I am every single day. You know, for however long I get the opportunity to wear this uniform, I'll be forever in debt to all of them, the things that they did for me. So, that's how real it gets. Price. All right. That wasn't quite. I can talk about it. All right. Questions, thoughts. What else do you guys want to talk about? We can talk about anything. I know we only have about 15 minutes. Yes.
What made you want to be a techie in the first place?
Sit down. So when I first came in the Air Force, one of the things is when you enlist in the Air Force, about 5 weeks in, they give you this list of jobs, right? And I don't even know what the jobs were at this point. I would read through it, and it's like 3-line description of this is what you do in that job. And I was like, boring, 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 boring. Damn, that sounds boring. And then when you're done with that, so you kind of 1 through 5. You're done with that, you got these recruiters that come in, right? And there's the PJ recruiter, the combat control recruiter, the tactical recruiter. And those guys walked in, and I was like, hallelujah. The skies opened up, the heavens opened. I was like, are you kidding me? I could do this in the Air Force. I'd be outside, jump out of airplanes, blow stuff up. I'm like, I'm in. So that's how it happened. What else? Yes.
Good, I mean, Foxtrot Flight. What differences in culture did you notice between the Army and the Air Force working with them?
Differences in culture. All right, so let me tell you, it doesn't matter where you go in the Department of Defense. They're great humans everywhere. We do things differently. Now that, when I was younger, sometimes I didn't understand it. And now that I've been around for a little while and I've experienced a lot of different things, it kind of makes more sense to me. You go to an Air Force base, and it's a pretty nice place in most cases, right? Nice buildings, huge golf course, because I think that's what they built first. Nice runways. Most of the time, these great airplanes on the airfield, and in the Air Force, the warfighting platform is that air base. In the Army, the warfighting platform is tanks, guns, helicopters. That's the warfighting platform. So a lot of times you go to an Army post and they don't invest the same amount of money into that because they know that's not where they're going to fight from. They're going to pick all that stuff up and they're going to go fight somewhere else. Right? You go to a Navy base. where they got all their money. So ships, right? That's their warfighting platform. That's where they spend the money. Right? Our warfighting platform is the base, and that's why we spend money there. You know, obviously, we have a different culture. It's kind of funny, you know. We in the Air Force, we try to make ourselves look different than the Army in as many ways as we possibly can. And we don't have to go very far back in history to realize that we were once part of the Army, right? But yet, we'll do everything in our power to be different. I mean, that's part of our history, but that's one part of our history that we don't embrace. One thing I'll tell you, the other services need, because they have a lot more career fields that are engaged directly in combat, is, you know, I'll tell you, basic training, for example. The Army, the Navy, the Marines, they teach people how to listen. They really do. Because that's what they need. When they say, take that hill, they don't need a discussion about it. They just need to go take the damn hill. Right? Well, we don't have as many of those people that close to the fight in the enlisted world in our Air Force. And so one of the things we do in basic training is we teach people how to critically think from the very beginning. I'll tell you, as you go out and you lead our airmen, you will see that they are just incredible. They are talented, they're educated, they're innovative. You know, some of them, as you're a lieutenant, captain, major, I'll tell you, some of them will come in the Air Force with more education, more, you know, institutional education than people have. I knew this was a different place. This was a different Air Force when, as a master sergeant, in Iraq in 2006, there was a senior airman there, E4, that had not only a bachelor's degree, but a master's degree. And he was looking at me for leadership. That's the kind of talent that you'll have the opportunity to lead every day. And so there's a different focus a little bit from Army to Air Force to Navy. But it all comes down to one thing. The one thing that we all do is to defend our nation. We do it in a little different ways. And you know, before this job, I had the opportunity to lead at Joint Base Langley, Houston. So 7,000 people with an Air Force background on Langley, 7,000 people with an Army background on Fort Eustis. And I would often tell people, we need to spend more time focusing on the front half of our name tape, not the back half of our name tape, and we'll get a lot more done together. You know, because at the end of the day, it's all U.S. It's us. We might have different methods of getting after it. We're still trying to do the same thing. Hopefully that answered your question. Great Americans all over the place, though. I'll tell you that. What else? Who was first? I think over here is first.
What advice do you have for new lieutenants?
Advice that I have for new lieutenants. Okay. You are the sum product of the 5 people you hang out with. So number 1, pay attention to who you hang out with. If they're getting into some shenanigans or doing knucklehead stuff, you can probably, you know, look down the road and find out that you'll be doing some of the same things because you will become just like them. If you're hanging out with people that are doing amazing quality stuff, you will also probably become like them. I'll tell you that the 5 people that I hung out with when I was a young airman, every single one of them, except one, is now a chief or a retired chief, and the other one is not a chief because he's a lieutenant colonel squadron commander. We sharpened each other. You know, we sharpened each other. We competed against each other, and we competed in a positive way. You know, if one person won, it was celebrated by all. It wasn't, you know, we weren't feeling sorry for ourselves because the other guy won. We were celebrating because we knew we were doing it together. And every day we tried to make each other better. So careful who you hang out with. the other thing I'll tell you is, you know, as a brand new lieutenant, you're gonna see a master sergeant sitting there, or part of your team, or a senior master sergeant chief, or maybe a tech sergeant. The thing that you have to recognize is that, yeah, you're an officer, and you know that guy works for you. But the thing you got to recognize is that they've been doing this business for decades. And if you're not smart enough to figure out you can learn something from that, then you got a big problem. So, I mean, just attach yourself to it, and you'll figure it out pretty quick. Who are the people that have the knowledge, have the information, have the skill and ability to just pour into you, right? And I'll tell you, if you give our NCOs and our senior NCOs an opportunity to pour into you, it'll give you everything that, you know. But if you act like I have 4 years of college and I'm better than you, they'll say, okay, go ahead. You know, let you walk off the cliff. So be careful who you hang out with, and utilize the capability that you have there. You know? There's just, I tell you, I am absolutely amazed every single day at the people that I get to hang out with. You know, from no stripes on the sleeve to general officers and everywhere in between. It's just absolutely amazing. They're just some phenomenal human beings that we get to hang out with on a daily basis. And so you got to utilize the resources you have. You know, learn from everybody. Never stop learning. This life is a daily experiment, right? You try certain things. Sometimes you're successful. Sometimes you're going to fail. You know, if you do, you pick yourself up and keep on going. Learn from the people around you, no matter who they are, no matter what rank, and you will be successful. Okay, okay.
Cadet Harwood, Foxtrot Flight. What was probably the toughest leadership decision you had to make during your career in the Air Force?
Toughest leadership decision. Please sit. Toughest leadership decision. You guys know what step promotion is? You guys ever heard of that? No? So stripes for exceptional performance. Right? We do this once a year. So there's, I'll give you an example. In the Air Combat Command, we had 26 stripes, I believe, that commanders could give out. And so the Air Combat Command General kind of divvied those out between the numbered air forces, and then they kind of went out around the force. And so you have an opportunity to nominate people for stripe for exceptional performance, right? And so basically, me and Colonel Gatica, my commander, actually did this last week. So we had somebody that was selected for a step promotion. Basically what happens is we walk in the room and we have a new name tape with from staff sergeant to tech sergeant. We tore off the staff sergeant, put on the tech sergeant, and she is now a tech sergeant. Just like that. One minute. Made it happen. All right? And so this was a long time ago, and there was somebody that I supervised that did some phenomenal things downrange and was decorated for doing it. And my commander comes to me one day, he says, "Hey, you're writing so-and-so a step promotion package." I was like, "Okay, so, and so back then, I'll tell you, kind of General Jumper's policy, he was the chief of staff at the time, his policy was, hey, give the system, the promotion system, an opportunity to work. So let the person test at least one time or twice, and then if they're still performing doing phenomenal work and just can't get over the hump, we don't want to lose somebody or let somebody fall too far back because maybe they just don't test well, right?" And so I told my commander that, I go, listen, this is not what the STEP program is for. This guy is never even tested for E6. So why are we gonna put him in for a step promotion? He goes, I don't care, buy the package. So I go back one more time, butt serve, right? I think everybody gets 2 butt serves or butt mans in the enlisted world. I'm talking to enlisted folks. Well, anybody actually, because we all have bosses, right? So if you're talking to your boss, you got 2 butt serves or butt mans. And after that, you're just gonna go, all right, got it. Execute, right? And so I got my 2 butt serves in, and I went back and I wrote it. In all honesty, made this package, and I sent it up to the squad, sent it to my commander. And then it grew a bunch of legs, and there was some stuff in there that I think was kind of a stretch. By the end of it, and the guy got step promoted. And I was like, man, I cannot believe. I mean, I felt like the Air Force had failed me. Right? I felt like the Air Force had failed me because here I had from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force a policy that said this program is not used for this, and then we just went completely against it. So there was a period of time where I was struggling. I was struggling. One on the decision that I need to go back for a 3rd butt serve, you know, just to make sure. And so I was struggling with that. Not sure that was a leadership decision, but sort of. I mean, I had to follow my leader. The leadership decision was right. Sorry. That's all right. I get some of them right though. What else? What else you guys want to talk about? I know I'm about to dig into your time, so I'm sure you got a million things to do other than hang out with me. Last question, anybody? Thank you guys for letting us hang out with you for the afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure. And like I said, I have no doubt that our country is in great hands, despite all the chaos that's happening around the world, because we got you guys coming into our ranks. If I could ever help, hopefully we run across each other, across the force somewhere. If I could ever help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Coin. Chief, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. It was awesome. You guys sit down. And I think the family got you a gift as well. Go ahead, Sarah Wilson. Right here we have a beer mug and a shirt.
Beer glass and shirt. It's a good thing we put any beer in there because I got to drive home.
So really appreciate it, Chief. That was epic. That was awesome. That was a great speaker. You know, that maybe you brought for you all at Llab. So thanks again. Before we go, we got, as promised, one exciting announcement. We have our future Operations Flight Commander is going to make it for us. So, Lieutenant Herbert. Yeah!
So, y'all might know what I'm here to say. You might not. But speaking of tough leadership decisions, we as a cadre did face one recently. You might have known that we had wing commander interviews. It was pretty exciting. Every candidate was more qualified than I expected. Every one of them was more prepared than we expected. And we honestly sat and talked about it for like an hour and a half. But without further ado, we had to pick one. So, drum roll, please. Next best wingman is going to be Jenna River.
We got a solid plan laid out for fall. We've actually already started thinking about it. My vice cadet Zimbrowski has already came up with some great plans for fundraising, but I need something from each one of your classes. So you 100s, rising 200s, you're going to be experiencing the newest stuff. You're going to be coming into a new program called ITL, Intro to Lead, which Cadet Morgan will be heading that. We think he's going to do an amazing job, and he's the perfect person for it. He always excels at stuff like that. You 200s are going to field training, or lead. You're going to be coming back as 300s. So field training, go in there. Don't expect any kind of ranking. You need to be looking at what areas you need to improve in on leadership, and you need to, at minimum, you need to identify those areas while you're there, but shoot for growing in those areas as well, because you're going to need those when you come in. You're going to be POC. Day one, we're not going to be babying you, all right? And then for the 400s, I am overly confident that everyone in their position is going to do a really great job. We've got a good staff. And then 800s, have fun not being on the org chart. That's it. It'll develop as we go through the summer. So, yeah.
Thank you again, Chief First.
That was awesome.
Room to charge! That's 670! Go!